Hi, today we're going to be taking a deep dive in how to set up Kanban boards in Notion. Now, Kanban boards are a highly effective productivity tool for managing your projects and your tasks, but they're dead easy to use. So they're highly effective for anyone who has multiple projects to juggle. We'll get started by creating a new page, and I'll just give it a title of Kanban project. And then we'll go down here and choose board from the database options. And then across to here and choose new database. Now what is set up on default when you create a new board view is 3 cards, and then you'll also have these 3 columns of to do, in progress and complete. As with other pages and databases, you can add an icon, so I'll do that here. We'll choose this crane, and if you wanted to, you could add a cover as well. I won't do it on this particular one because it'll give me more room to add tasks into this column. The first thing that I'm going to do is edit these columns so we can have different name titles here. And to do that, I'm going to come over to these 3 dots on the right hand side, click on that and come down to properties. And then once we're in properties, click on status, and you'll see that there are 3 status groups here: to do, in progress and complete, which are the same as these column titles up here. Inside each of these groups there's 1 option at the moment, but we can add additional options here, so that's what I'm going to do. So click on the plus sign. I'm going to add an additional option in the to do group of up next. And then what that will do, if we've got a list of say 15 or 20 different tasks, we can prioritize what's going to be happening next. And then in the in progress group, I'm going to add an additional option, which is going to be waiting. And it's quite useful in project management just to identify any tasks that are acting as a bottleneck within the project and holding things up. So what we can do now is we can recolor these if you want. So just come across to the end, click on the arrow, and I'm going to recolor that to red. And I think I'm going to have this one as yellow. Now you may be thinking, well, I can't see those new columns appearing here, and that's because these are at the moment showing the groups of statuses. So what we want to do to show up the new columns is come across to the 3 dots again, then come down to group by, and we'll look at status by or status by, and then you've got option of group or option. Right, now you can see that I've got my 2 new columns, waiting and up next. However, they're not in the correct order or the order that I'd like them. So I'm going to come back to the 3 dots, into properties, into status again, and I'm just going to move the order of these. So not started to be above up next, and in progress above waiting. And then you may need to refresh the page, and then they should be in the correct order. So now they're correct. So they're in not starting, and then if you've got a long list of say 15 items here, you can then choose the ones that you're going to get up next. Then they'll be in progress. If there's any problems, they go into waiting. So say you're waiting for client to sign off a particular project, it'll go there, and then they'll be done. So these are all now in the correct order. Now let's have a quick look at the cards which will hold our tasks. If you click on card 1, it will open in a side peek. You can open in full page view if you prefer. So I'm just going to put a task in here. And then by default there's a status here and assigned to. At the moment it's just me in this particular campaign, so it's going to assign to me. Then you can add additional properties if you like. All of the normal types are available, So you might want to add, let's say, a date, a due date for this task. Then you can add that in. And you might also want to add, let's say you're working with different clients, you might want to add a select and just call it client. And then we'll put the client names in there. So we'll just call them client 1 and 2. And then down here we can write anything in here that might be useful for the task. So we might put support materials. I'll make that into an H3 heading. And then /file, and we can attach any different types of files that would be useful for completing this task. But in this section you can have anything from text to databases to checklists. I'll now just quickly add a few more tasks. So I've now added some more tasks, but let's decide what we show on the front of each card. So come over to the 3 dots on the top right hand side, down to properties, and this is what's shown on the front of the card and this is what's hidden. Now I don't want to show the assigned. That might be useful if you had a team so you could see who it's assigned to, but there's just me in this team, so I'll take that off. And I think what would be useful is a due date on there. So now we have the name of the task and the due date. Now as your projects progress you can move the task to different stages of the project, but there's one challenge we've got here is we can't tell which task goes with each particular client. So let's see how we can divide these up. Now the first method we can use is to create subgroups. So just come over to the 3 dots again and then come down to subgroup, and then we can choose how we subgroup our data, and we're going to choose client. So now what we have is our 2 clients, and it's divided down into the 5 different columns that we have. So we have client 1 here, client 2, and then any one that you don't have a client for will be put into here. And this is a nice way of showing all your data on one page. And you could use this same method for, let's say if you had different team members, you could show how the different team members have their different projects and how they're progressing. Now this is a good method. I think it can look a little bit messy, so sometimes I prefer to actually use filters, and this is how you do that. So let's just take these subgroups off, and now what we'll do is we'll duplicate the board view and we'll rename it client 1. Now what we're going to do is set up a filter for client, and we just want to show tasks that are for client 1. So these are the 3 tasks for client 1. Then we do exactly the same for client 2. So we duplicate the board view. Client 2. And these are the 3 tasks for client 2. And then we could maybe rename the first board all task. And then that is a little bit cleaner to look at. You can use Notion boards for other layouts as well, so let's have a quick look at that. How I created the columns for this sales pipeline was to create a new property and then make it select. So we've got these different options here, 5 different options. And then if we go back to these three dots, you would group by that particular property. So we've got these 5 options here, and you can move those around to change the order of the columns. So that's how you create Kanban boards in Notion. Now I find it really useful to create these boards alongside timelines. And if you'd like to find out how to do that, I've got this video here which goes into it in much more detail.